So for starters, trauma from the womb is going to basically impact two areas. It's going to impact our stomach, our digestive system, and our root chakra. So our root chakra is so much about our general safety, our general physical safety in our body. So much of root chakra is connection to land, connection to community, connection to family, connection to ourselves, our capacity to trust ourselves. But most importantly, the root chakra is about physical safety in our body. And so when we hold a lot of trauma from the womb, it's really going to impact in maybe a lot of stomach issues, a lot of digestive tract issues, but also it's going to create a lot of trauma and karma at our root chakra, which is going to impact our capacity to feel grounded, to feel physically safe in our body. And so, if we experienced a lot of trauma that was imprinted into us when our mom was incubating us in the womb, then there's a really good chance that we've never really ever felt safe in the world. Because our earliest imprint and experiences of the world are being created when we're in the womb. Is the universe a safe place? Are we in a chronic threat response when we relate to the universe? And if we have a lot of trauma or a lot of unprocessed emotion from mom that was imprinted into us when she was pregnant with us, then we're going to hold on to so much of that and basically come into the world not feeling like the world is a safe place. We're not going to feel physically safe in our body. If when we're being created in the womb, there's developmental issues or different things that struggle in the development when we're in the womb, then we're also not going to feel physically safe because we're experiencing this trauma, this earliest imprint of trauma, and we're going to come out into the world immediately not feeling like the world is a safe place. So that's going to affect the root chakra and our stomach and our digestive tract. So womb trauma is basically created in whatever the emotional experience mom was going through. So if mom experienced a trauma or mom was experiencing some really, really difficult emotions that she wasn't able to process, there's a lot of undigested grief, there's a lot of fear, she had a big spike in cortisol, fight or flight response. We're going to be picking up on all of that when we're in the womb, because we're responding to her energetic, psychological, and emotional state. So when we talk about womb trauma, it's so much of what's happening in mom's body. So if our mom was pregnant with us, and this is what happened to me, this is my core root trauma. If mom went through a really traumatic period, whatever it might have been, someone died or, whatever it might be, if she went through a really difficult, scary, fear-inducing, challenging period, a traumatic experience when she was pregnant with us, that's what creates womb trauma. Particularly if she's not able to process those emotions, if she has a lot of fear, it might impact her capacity to be attuned to us in the womb. Because so much of the earliest attunement of mom to infant is when she's in the womb and being able to emotionally attune to the child that's developing, right? So much of what's going on in mom gets imprinted into us. And something that can happen when we're being created in the womb this is where sometimes enmeshment trauma can be created, which happened in my case. If mom goes through a really traumatic period when she's pregnant, when she's creating in the womb, when she's going through pregnancy, that it can create an enmeshment mother wound, meaning that there's this trauma that binds them together. So mom psychologically is bonded to the child who basically was her only source of comfort and maybe safety at the time when she was dealing with something traumatic in the outside world. So that can create an enmeshment mother wound when mom experiences trauma when she's pregnant with you, which is what also happened to me. And the final thing I'll say about womb trauma and the development of it is that it can also happen if we have a really, really difficult labor, or we come out of the womb and there's a broken collarbone or something and then all of a sudden we were separated from mom or parents at birth, right? So if there was some sort of, again, developmental issue and really challenging birth process where we came out, that can also really create our relationship that the universe is not a safe place, right? So a lot of also anxiety disorders can be created from womb trauma. So what happened with me was my mom went through a really traumatic period when she was pregnant with me, which, you know, she was spiking cortisol and she was in a fight or flight response, had all this fear, had all this grief, had all this anger, this chaos of emotions that I was just absorbing. So think about it. You're in the womb and you're just absorbing all of this energy. And you're just like, you know, you're like this little fucking fetus and you're like, what's going on? It feels like chaos and like a storm outside of the womb. And so what happened for me is that anxiety disorder didn't arise until I was 8 years old. And I was terrified to go on a roller coaster at Disneyland. And I was, you know, gonna go on the roller coaster, but then when I got to it, I was like scared shitless. And I'm like, there's no way I can do this. So didn't go on the ride, but I was like crying, just sobbing, just a total mess. And then on the way back home to Canada in a Seattle hotel room when I was 8 years old, I had my first panic attack where I thought I was gonna die, I couldn't breathe in the whole paper bag. And that was basically the manifestation of womb trauma, was the imprint of all the chaos that I absorbed from my mom when I was in the womb. It didn't get manifested until I was 8. So from birth until I was 8 years old, I was a calm, peaceful, happy kid. And then I had this experience that basically elicited, you know, in a way you could say a trauma response in the body, or, you know, a fear response that basically elicited and kind of activated and awoke all that womb trauma and that emotional chaos that I had picked up from my mom, because so much of my mom's anxiety was being imprinted into me. And so if you have a parent who's pregnant with you, who's experiencing a lot of anxiety, that can be imprinted into you. So we're picking up so much anxiety disorders. And just all to say that womb trauma is going to affect our stomach. So if we're someone who's always had digestive issues for as long as we can remember, that's a possible indication that we experienced a really challenging period when our mom was pregnant with us, or that we've just never really felt physically safe in our body. You think about everything as a threat, like, you know, life, the world is a threat. We're holding a lot of fear. So for me, experiencing womb trauma, with the exception of maybe from birth until I was 8 years old, I always just had so much fear. Just this terrified little boy that the world is a dangerous place, that, you know, something's going to happen to me, that I'm going to die. And so I had developed this anxiety disorder. I was a hypochondriac where I was thought there was something wrong with my health. And all of that was incubated and created from when I was in the womb. I was a hypochondriac, you know, always thinking I was going to die, you know, always thinking, you know, I had cancer or whatever it might be, catastrophic thinking. And that was all because of the cortisol spike from my mom when she was pregnant with me, the traumatic experience she went through, me being imprinted with all that anxiety, then experiencing that event when I was 8 years old manifested the anxiety. And so if we're someone who has never felt safe in the world, a lot of digestive issues, stuff with the stomach, a lot of karma and trauma in the root chakra, then that's a possible indication that we experienced a traumatic period, or more accurate, that our mom experienced a traumatic period when she was pregnant with us. So that's a little bit about what womb trauma is, how it's developed, and in the next video, I'm going to take you through a somatic process for how you actually heal womb trauma. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. And if you haven't already, I would love for you guys to subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, and send it to someone who you think might resonate, who may be experienced something similar when they were being brought into the world.